Tommy Reynolds has his gun out. He's pointing the gun, and all of a sudden, I see this woman.
They say it's on every single station. They're saying that Daddy died.
He said there was an accident and your father is no longer with us.
In real life, I'm not like that.
And the Mario test was disgusting.
One night I jumped out of a car doing 60 miles an hour because I was addicted.
Salute, Mob Tube.
Salute, Mob Tube. Listen, guys, like I said, I'm having a special guest on today. He's got a story to tell us all. Some of you are familiar with it, some of you aren't. But I'm going to bring him on now, and then I'll tell you a little bit of how we got to this point. Everybody, please welcome John Alite. Hey, John.
How are you? Thanks, man. How's everything?
Good. How you feeling?
All right. I'm all right. Hanging in there.
Good. Good to know. Before we get started, I'm going to tell everybody how we got to this point, because I'm sure a lot of people are surprised to see you on here.
Yeah.
A couple of weeks ago, John reached out to me and said he was, willing to come on here and do a show with me. So I thought about it, and I figured the best way to do it would be maybe to have him on an addiction and recovery show and talk about his daughter, Chelsea, and her story. So I ran that by John, and John was okay with it. So that's how we got here. John, if you don't mind, it depends on how you want to start, but if you want to tell us a little bit about Chelsea to begin with, that would be great.
Yeah, well, you left out one part about you were, despite what everybody's differences are, you were a gentleman. You called me, you texted me about me losing my daughter, and that made me obviously respect you for doing that.
Thank
And
you.
Regardless what people think about each other when it comes to our kids, it was really a nice gesture by you, and I told you I wouldn't forget it, and I didn't.
No, you didn't. You know how I feel about it. My heart breaks for you, John. And actually, what else happened is after that, we had a conversation then. And then when this thing happened on the 4th where I got jumped and all that, John reached out to me. He was one of very few people that did. Some of my closest friends didn't reach out. And he reached out to me and expressed his concern and stuff. So, I consider John a friend at this point.
I appreciate that. And, obviously, sometimes things happen and people have their differences and hopefully I try not to bite into it. Obviously, it's hard sometimes with a past history not to lose your temper the way I used to.
Yeah.
And I look at life different, especially with a son in prison for the last about 7 years. And while he was away, I lost my daughter. So those are the things that really life's about. And no matter who the person is and what he does for a living or what he used to do for a living, or law enforcement, gangster, ball player, movie star, you lose your daughter or your son, a child. It's like having a bad toothache in your heart that'll never go away. You wake up day and night with it. And I wouldn't wish it on my worst enemy for anybody that has to go through what people like me and other parents go through. It's never, you're gonna get through your day. You're gonna go through it. You might smile, you might laugh, you go out, but there's a piece of you that's gone no matter what. That's not coming back.
Yeah, I like I said, I can't imagine the suffering you must deal with, the pain you must go through on a daily basis. I remember when I texted you on Father's Day, the first thing you said to me is, with all the things you've been through in life, you never felt pain like this.
No, there's no explainable pain for the parents that lost a child. They know what it is. I mean, this is a picture of my daughter for the people that never seen her.
Beautiful.
And the back of it, there's a scripture that was written from the Bible that, I keep in my pocket. I keep in my cars, each car. I have pictures around the house of her, and I talk about her a lot. And I think any parent, some parents may deal with it a different way. I'm in church at least once a week. I go to chapel a couple of times a week, and I got a different outlook on life. I think when you lose a child, then I hear a lot of there's people that I guess really got malice in their heart, and they try to relate my past to my daughter. So when people talk about that, I tell them my daughter never lived the life I did. So whatever happens to a child has nothing to do with me. I mean, if that happened to me, and I guess people can laugh, people can say whatever they want to say if they don't like it. But when they're talking about somebody's child, doesn't matter how old your child is, it's always going to be a child. So you're going to get people like that, and I guess that's why I go to church. So I try to overcome some of the anger issues and some of the regret I have in my life. And people know I have a lot of regret in my past and can't change that. And this was about my daughter. She lived with me. She had a child, and I don't wish it, like I said, on anybody. That's the worst thing in life, to lose one of your kids.
Yeah, I can't imagine, like I said, and I notice, that now, first of all, some of the things these people say, like the hatred they spew, the venom, it's unbelievable, because regardless of whether they love you or hate you, or regardless of what you did in your past, to say something like this is karma for you. First of all, like you said, it's not just about you, it's your daughter. And I can't imagine, something like this being karma. For someone to even think about it like that goes to show how sick they are.
Somebody could say it's karma if it was me that died, me who got
Yeah.
killed, me who was in an accident and died. Somebody wants to spit on my grave. I mean, I'm okay with all that. When someone's digs that low to wish that on somebody's kid, then they got their own issues. And a lot of these, not a lot, 99% of these people don't even know me. They don't know really what happened in the past. They weren't in my shoes. They didn't lose their kids for all the years I did while I was sitting in prisons, and not seeing my daughter for so many years in Brazil penitentiaries. And when all that was going on, I didn't get to visit with my daughter. And after that, I was on diesel therapy when I came back, and from jail to jail, solitary confinement, moving me from place to place. And I didn't get to see my daughter. So not only did I lose my daughter, I lost a good lot of years of not seeing her, probably close to 12 years out of her 30 years before she passed. So, and the last 10 out of 20, I didn't see her at all, except for once. So it's not, you got issues of losing your daughter, and then you got the guilt of my life that I didn't spend enough time with her.
Yeah, that's got to be tough. I mean, when did you really start to build a relationship with her after all that was over?
My daughter was fine. She was tough. So when I came home, we connected right away, me and all my kids. But she's my only daughter. I have 4 sons, and we started getting to know each other again as her being a young adult, and started to later on. She moved in with me, lived with me, and so then we got closer and closer, and try to talk to her about life, especially our neighborhood. I grew up on Jamaica Avenue, where drugs were everybody in my life was either selling drugs, using drugs, or ODing from drugs. And for the people that don't know, I got involved with Black Poster Project with D. Gillen, and it's for people that lost their kids to opioids and fentanyl. And in my daughter's case, she didn't OD. For people that don't know the story, she was murdered by fentanyl. She didn't do fentanyl. She didn't look to do fentanyl. And when someone buys a drug, for me in the past, when I was a drug dealer, if you asked me for cocaine, that's what I gave you. If you asked for Quaalude, that's what I gave you. If you asked for ecstasy, that's what I gave you. But I didn't give you cocaine cut with fentanyl. That's somebody who's trying to kill somebody, or their intentions aren't good if they're not giving you what you're asking for. So I got a big problem, obviously, with anybody that sells fentanyl. To me, they're garbage, low lives, because it's not a drug. It's not a recreational drug where, you smoke weed, and for people that are against it or for it, it doesn't matter. But you're not killing anybody. With cocaine, you got to do buckets of it for the most part, and you're not going to die if you're doing an opioid, Percocet, like my daughter did. Whether you should do them or not, you're not going to die from taking a perk or two. So being realistic, these are party, kind of drugs or relaxation drugs or whatever you want to say, but they're not going to kill you. But when someone puts fentanyl in these things, that's why we got 100 to 200,000 people dying a year by fentanyl. Yep. And I know the government says it's 100,000. For the people that don't understand, most people don't get autopsies when their kids or somebody in their family OD or are murdered by fentanyl. It doesn't show up in the blood for the most part if you're in a hospital. It's very difficult to detect. And they can take as much blood as they want when you're in the hospital, so people are not aware of that. The only way you'll find out for sure is an autopsy. And just recently, the guy from Friends died, and I'm wondering if they didn't find anything in his system. They said they didn't find fentanyl because there wasn't an autopsy yet. I'm curious, once there's an autopsy, will they find the fentanyl? Even then, it's difficult to find.
Yeah, I'm wondering the same thing, considering the way he died. It's hard for me to think that, just alcohol, I guess made him unconscious to the point where he could drown. It's like you said a minute ago, when you were younger, the street drugs were somewhat safe. When I was younger, it was the same thing. If you bought something, whatever it was, you knew what you were getting. Even heroin, most of the time, if you overdosed, it was because you just took way too much. Now, just like a grain of sand worth of fentanyl could be in anything. It could be in cocaine. It could be, like you said, it could be in weed. It could be, in the dope, anywhere. And somebody could just drop dead in a heartbeat. And it's unbelievable. I don't understand the business model behind these drug dealers doing this shit. I really don't.
Well, I think a lot of these drug dealers are dumb, and their intentions aren't to kill anybody. They know it's highly addictive, so that's what they're thinking. They'll bring them back. But you got college kids, students that are taking Adderall so they can stay up all night and study, and they're lacing them with fentanyl. They're dying. My friend of mine his son ordered a diet pill online through Canada. He took it, he died. And then just recently, weed, for the people that don't know, another friend of mine, and she was just with me recently. Her nephew, and he was 40 years old. Her husband, his wife was 38. They had 3 kids, I believe. They were smoking weed only, and they both died from fentanyl poisoning. Now, people say, "Oh, it's impossible. They had fentanyl." They should check, because it's happening in the prison system. A lot of people are falling out because they're spraying it with fentanyl.
It's unbelievable. You can't trust anything. My wife, her son's best friend, who she practically raised, he died about a year before Chelsea. Same thing. He in his case, he bought what he thought was Xanax. And, him and my stepson, they were at his father's, and they took these pills. Luckily for my stepson, what he took was safe, but his friend Devin died right next to him, while my stepson was sleeping. So it hits close to home for us too. It's so sad.
My daughter it was her birthday. For the people who don't know, I called her for her birthday. We spoke at night. I said, "How you doing? Love you." Talked to her all night, text all night. I said, "You going out tonight?" She said, "No, I'm staying home." She had the baby with her. They had a birthday party earlier with all different girls and their babies down in Florida at my ex-wife's house. The next morning, she woke up, and she woke up about 9:30, 10 o'clock. Her flight wasn't until 5, and the baby was still sleeping. So she made a couple of texts to friends of hers. The night before, she left me a late message, leave the door open and the keys to my car. I thought she's safe because she's home. And I was on my way to Florida. We were crisscrossing, and she was coming back, and I was going. I said, "Don't worry, door's open, love you, the keys are there." And she took another pill of a perk at 10 o'clock because her plane wasn't until 5, the babies, and she lay down next to the baby. And never woke up. So she wasn't out partying with anybody. Like, you hear so many rumors of well, she was out all night partying. Not true. People text me and ask me, and friends of mine. I said, no, simple as one pill, and one pill's nothing. You could take 3 or 4. She was a little girl. She was small, and so I have people that told me, well, she shouldn't take pills. They say stupid things. Well, the whole world shouldn't do a lot of things. I mean,
Yeah.
as a father, I wish she never took a pill either. But people go out and drink, and drink too much and die of alcohol poisoning. And certain people never heard of that. And then there's people that, partying all night and they're doing coke, they're doing weed, they're taking a pill, and they die in their sleep and they blow up their heart. That's OD. But taking one pill or taking a fat burning pill that has fentanyl in it, or smoking weed that has fentanyl in it, no, that's murder. That's not kids out partying all night doing all kinds of things. So, I'm never going to get over it. And, and people say, that's why I said when they talk about, kids dying 100,000, it's a lot more higher than that a year. And I got a big issue, obviously, with the open border because, and, people could be on whatever side of the aisle they want to be on. But the open border causes fentanyl to come in, all kinds of crimes are coming in. People are raping kids left and right. Women are getting raped on the way over. Guys are getting killed. Women are getting killed. They're living all over the streets. Not humanitarian. But the worst thing for me is that's what killed my daughter, these open borders and the fentanyl that's walking in. And every person that has a child at any age, even young kids, because somebody will bring fentanyl and the residue will be in what just happened in a classroom a couple of months ago. And somehow the kids got it on their hands and, killed a baby. So
That's a shame. Yeah, something needs to change. I want to ask you, was Chelsea addicted to Percocets? Was she, into drugs for quite some time, or was this just a freak thing?
no, my daughter was in a bad car accident. She was younger when I was in jail. And she started fucking around taking perks a little bit. And, whether she addicted or not, I don't know, because just like us, if somebody said to me, did you do this or do that? Yeah, we all did. So I don't know what, really what you consider addicted to it or not. She didn't go out every day partying like that, but at home she'll take a perk. So is that an issue? I would say, yeah, it's an issue. How bad of an issue is another story. I don't know. I guess somebody would have to really analyze that. But she did them, and I was aware she did them, and I just didn't know how to stop her from doing perks. So, and I kept warning her about fentanyl because I have a lot of friends that lost their kids. So I'm part of that club now. And I used to beg her, and tell her, please stop taking them. You don't know what's in them. And then, as a parent, you start feeling guilty. I should have got her perks, legit ones, not from the street. And then you say, well, are you going to help your daughter get high? So that's not the answer. And I'm just one parent out of millions that are going through what I'm going through, and of kids getting high and, recreationally or from college. And, people don't think, they see kids in school, college, they think they're educated. There's more partying going on in colleges than in regular street kids. So,
Absolutely.
So it's very hard to determine when someone says what's an addiction. You guys, and I talk to a lot of counselors who I have on my shows, and guys that got high and stayed, and or alcohol. My friend runs an AA classes. They know better than most what addiction is, and the only way you overcome that is to completely let it go. Or there's always that possibility. Like people ask me about my anger. It's just each day is another day I get through it. It's very hard. That temptation's always there. Nothing different than an alcoholic or somebody that's a drug addict, or somebody that recreationally uses. Is it recreational where you could control your habit? Like, a lot of people smoke weed, right? And can you stop smoking for 2 months? Then I'll tell you that you're not addicted even to weed. And people laugh and say, who's addicted to weed? Same person is addicted to alcohol. If you smoke every day, there's an issue with it. If you can't stop it, then it obviously is an issue.
Without a doubt. Yeah, we talk about that on this show all the time. People downplay things like there's nothing to worry about. But if there's anything you feel like you need all the time, then you're addicted. That's it. certain things don't have the stigma other things that do, but whatever substance it is, if you need it, you're addicted to it. You said that after Chelsea took the pill, she passed away next to the baby. Who found her, if you don't mind me asking, and how long was it?
Her mom actually did almost, we weren't sure if it was anywhere from 20 minutes to 40 minutes. And for people that don't know this, they should have Narcans. It's just a nasal spray for people that don't know. They should definitely have it around the house, even if their child doesn't, or their young adult child doesn't have it. Somebody else may, one of their friends may take something and OD in your house, and you'd be able to save them. The problem was my daughter was found, like I said, 20 or 40 minutes later. And the time they got 911 in there, they gave her, I think, 5 or 6 they attempted Narcans. And I kept her on life support for 4 days of suffering. And even though I knew, or basically knew, I didn't want to hear it. One of my best friends is a neurosurgeon. He does TV shows with me about fentanyl and drug addiction. Not just in this country, we do it in other countries. We've done it in several other countries in Europe. And we discuss the problem with fentanyl, the addiction aspect. He talks on a medical aspect of it. I talk on a street level. And we try to make a difference. And hopefully we get to some people. And the bad thing is I lost my daughter. The good thing, if there's anything that's good could come out of it, I know my daughter's looking down at me because I work with a lot of people that lost their kids now, people that wanted to commit suicide, some family members who did commit suicide, people that are struggling that call me on both sides, people that are using it, people that had family members that killed themselves, and they discuss with me how to get through it. And I put them in touch with people just like myself that have lost family members and children. So the good end is my daughter would say I'm doing something about it. And I'm not just sitting still. So it's going to be a fight forever for me. Obviously, I owe it to my daughter's memory of life. And for people who don't believe in God, and I was one of those guys all the years in jail. I couldn't find God. I would try to find him when I was in solitary confinement, when I was facing life, and I just never could find God. But I'll tell you a quick story. When my daughter passed away, and there's several things happened, but one was it took me about a month to go up in her room and clean it out. And I didn't know that she even had a TV upstairs because she was always downstairs with me watching TV. And I went on side of the TV and I was, taking the bed sheets off and the pillows. And then I went across the room and I was talking to her, and obviously I was upset. I was crying a little bit. And I was emptying her closet out and the TV went on. And so the remote control was by the TV. I was on completely other side of the room, probably 15 feet away, because the upstairs where she lived was pretty big. It was 20 feet, 22 feet, I believe, long, the room. So I was on the other side of the room. If anybody can explain that to me and say that's not a message, and people that are believers, then they'll believe. I wasn't drunk. I wasn't near the remote. So it gives you hope that maybe there is something that's saying to me, I'm okay, Dad. That's how I take it. And I had another incident in Las Vegas, and I was filming a movie, and I went downstairs, and I was very upset. Went out of the hotel, talked to one of my sisters, and she kept trying to convince me, what happened with the TV, and, your daughter's with you. And I went back inside to eat breakfast at a bar, and because the whole dinette was packed, and I'm inside a hotel in Vegas. And a young couple comes to sit next to me. The guy takes the chair, the girl's standing there. So I get up, I give her my chair, and I start talking with him. And the bartender asks for her identification. So I just said to him, why would you ask him? They're only eating breakfast. We're all eating breakfast. And I didn't see you ask anybody else. But if he didn't ask her, I wouldn't know the next thing. The next thing is her birthday is exactly the day and year of my daughter's birthday.
Wow.
So the odds of that being in Las Vegas is billions to one, I guess, sitting next to me, kicking up a conversation with me just calling my sister about my daughter. And is that another message from her, Dad, I'm all right? I mean, I take it as that. Anybody else could take it as what they want. Say complete coincidence. I don't believe so.
No, I believe 100% she's with you, John. I do. And I think those were signs to let you know without a doubt. Um, Let me ask you, I heard you say that this is basically going to be your life's work from now on. Do you feel like you found a new purpose with this?
100%. I mean, there's so many people that contact me, and you're dealing with your own grief. Like, people will ask you all the time. I'll be out somewhere laughing and smiling. My son just recently got married, and we're at a wedding. I go back in the bathroom, and you have the breakdowns, and people you don't show people, right? Because publicly, you keep yourself. People say, "Wow, he looks fine. Like, he's okay." But that's not true, because personally, I've known a lot of guys and women that talk to me that everybody deals with it differently. A woman just contacted me recently, and I got her to finally get up and go to church and pray. And she's been writing me on a regular through Instagram and thanking me that she couldn't get out of bed. She didn't want to go back into church, and she, and that feels good that you're trying to at least have her understand that, that's not what her daughter would want. She would want her to have some sort of life, and she would want to help the next person, just like you do when you go to rehabs. Each person, you have group therapies, and people talk to each other about experience, so you're not the only one that goes through it. And you understand that there's other people out there that have been through the same thing, going through the same thing, and reaching that hand out. And that's the good thing about human beings. There's a lot of negative stuff, but there's a lot of positive stuff too. So, I try to stay with the positive stuff. A lot of times, people draw me into the negative because of the history, and people don't understand it, and whatever reason. But then I try to get back on track and stay to the positive.
Yeah, I'll tell you the truth, John. I think it's noticeable, at least for me, it is. Your whole demeanor has kind of changed. I noticed that you dropped a lot of all the old petty shit. You don't really argue with people anymore, and you seem to be driven to really make change when it comes to all this.
Yeah, I mean, listen, none of us are perfect. I have some issues with certain people, and I guess, but those are, personal. What I don't understand about internets and this and that is, if you don't have a personal dealing with a guy or a girl, why are you getting involved with them or having a hatred towards them? You don't even know them. You don't know them intricately. They don't have conversations now that I have with you, right? So you know much more about me because we've talked. So some other people don't know me at all. They could think I'm the biggest prick in the world, or they could think I'm the nicest guy in the world, but they don't really know you. Like, so a guy just wrote me recently, and he said to me, "Yo, I had big respect for you," and blah, 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 blah. And he didn't like what I said politically. And I said to him, "Listen, respectfully to you, what makes you think I give a fuck if you like me or don't like me? I mean,
Perfect answer.
I really don't care what you think about me." So, people say, "Well, why would I care? It's not part of my world." And, for the people I'm trying to help, I don't want to hear nothing negative. I'm just trying to help some people. I do a lot of talks at schools, and I do talks for troubled kids. And I go into inner cities, and I travel into Chicago. I travel into Wisconsin, and I don't get paid for that stuff. I just talk to them because I know what it is to suffer. I know what it is to be angry. When someone's screwing with you and you're thinking, "Oh, if this was the old me," they wouldn't say a word because I'll do what I used to do. And, there's a lot of people like that the same way. And then the problem is this, and to my point, because we're talking about this, you got a lot of people who can't handle that, and they start drinking because they're upset that someone's certain, and they get into addiction because they can't take people, harassing them and bother them. So I don't think a lot of people get the bigger picture, because if adults are doing it to each other, and then you go out and you get high because you don't like the insults, and you're just causing that guy to maybe get his kid to do the same thing. Or if some kid's watching this, they're going to start doing it to kids in school. And, we have obligations not to do that to each other, because then you get kids doing it. No different than, an alcoholic. You don't ask an alcoholic to have a drink with you because you're just hurting that person. Why would you want to do that?
No, you're right. I agree 100%. Definitely. Nothing positive comes out of any of the bullshit, the fighting and all that. What other than the Black Poster Project? What else are you involved in as far as this fentanyl stuff and everything?
I went down to Philadelphia. I did actually there's a couple of plaques that were just made, and I did a documentary a couple of years back in Philadelphia in an area down there that's very known for drug addiction. It's one of the biggest areas in Philadelphia with drug addicts where it's legal to shoot up and get high. And so I got involved with somebody who ran for city councilman down there. My friend Sam. So I was with him, my friend Jimmy. We go to a lot of events for kids that passed away or kids that are involved with trying to generate money to help other people that have addiction problems. So I've been all over with this fentanyl and for addiction now since my daughter died. And I've done shows out of Philly, actually a couple out of Philly, and then I did them across in Europe too. So I'm very active in trying to help kids, and people contact me on a regular basis now to talk about it. And can I point them in the right direction to somebody who's running a clinic or a rehab or, in-house to stay sober or, not just drugs with alcohol. So I've been pretty active. I was active with it prior to my daughter, and I thought I understood it, because I was doing that for years too, prior to my daughter, until unfortunately it happened to my daughter. Now I really understand it. And it's a $35 billion industry, fentanyl, a year coming out of China, for the people that don't know that. And there's 138 chemical labs in China that develop the drug. They don't consider it a controlled substance, so they're not. The reason why they don't call it that is because then they're not monitored or supervised, and they have the excuse of not knowing. And if those labs were cut to what they should be, there'd only be about 30 of them. And just most recently, the head of the FBI of Mexico just got locked up for being part of the cartels moving fentanyl into this country. Jesus. So the level of corruption is to the top. And I did a show about him also. So this is an intentional, obviously, intentional money-making business that's killing everybody in this country. But if you go to Europe, you won't see it. I mean, you do see it, but very, very rarely. It's not like this country. So this is an intentional method of taking out our younger generation, and everybody knows it, and there's not much being done about it.
Well, I commend you, first of all, for using your platform to try to make some sort of change when it comes to this, because it's an epidemic, it's a crisis, and something needs to happen eventually. And you got a loud voice, so you might be able to really make something happen. You said earlier that somebody messaged you and talked a little shit about your political stance, whatever. I heard you say that, do you think on all sides of the aisle, as far as Republican, Democrat, Independent, they all need to work together and do something about this, right? Is that how you feel about it?
Oh, 100%. I mean, this sanctions got to be strong sanctions against Mexico, and they're not. And the problem is, and I just said this in talking about the conflict in Israel and Palestinian people. I feel bad for both sides of all people, but no one's talking about. No one's really honest about their stance. So I'm very active politically. If someone's following me, they'll see. There's the Muslim Uyghurs in China, and there's about 11 million of them that have been sterilized, separated from their kids, jailed, killed, abused, tortured, and nobody's saying anything about it. This is going on since 2017. And then you had my friends from Iran, and you'll see there's a lot of pictures on my Instagram with Iranian guys. And their families and their brothers and sisters and mothers were all being tortured in Iran. And they're good Muslims, right? And Iranians, the government are killing them and torturing them. Nobody's saying anything. And it's the same thing with this Israel conflict. Why is anybody, all these people all over the street, why aren't they saying anything about what's going on with all these Muslims being killed in China. Nobody has anything to say. Nobody has nothing to say about Iran. Nobody has nothing to say about hundreds of thousands of kids that are dying a year about fentanyl. So we hear a lot about the Ukrainian wars and different things, like, but ask them how many people died in Ukraine and Russia. But look how many people are dying here, and they're not throwing shots at anybody. They're just dying from taking a recreational drug unwittingly. So why isn't all these countries talking about our kids? Why isn't anybody talking about my daughter? I says, why is it okay that they lose their lives? Maybe not from a bomb, maybe not in China being tortured, but they're being killed off, in droves. So yeah, I'm politically active because I understand that our government is complicit. And just like Obama and Biden were complicit in giving Iran billions of dollars since 2015, that the people don't understand. And they know they fund Hezbollah and Hamas. Now, anybody that says it's okay for anybody to kill a girl, rape a girl, kill a child, chop their heads off, that's Hamas. That's not Palestinian people. There's a difference. So when people say, well, you're against, no, I'm not. I'm Albanian. 3/4 of my family is Muslims. My parents were born with Muslim names. So was my grandparents. So I'm just open and fair about the way I talk. I says nobody should okay any child or any girl being raped. And no good Muslim, unless they're fanatical, would okay that. And there's no answer or response when I say these things. I says, and the same thing when I'm talking about as many people that are dying. And it's so terrible what happened in Israel with 1,400 people butchered. And it's bad with innocent people in Palestine getting killed by bombs because of the reaction of what happened in Israel to these 1,400 kids. But I'm talking about 100,000 plus in this country every year.
Every year.
And it should get so much more, TV time from all these journalists that I'm sick of these journalists because they're complicit in all this. They don't care about anybody. They only care about themselves, the greed, the government people, same thing. They don't care about anybody or any of these people that are dying, any of these kids, any of these Muslims that are dying, any of the poor Jewish people that just got killed. It's only about money. And, and so when people wake up and stop letting everybody go, what they want is the division. And the division is no different than what goes on in these YouTubes we all do. Everybody's going at each other, but if everybody's with each other, right? And I'll go back to Palestine and the Jews. Everybody in America, maybe if they held each other's hands at all these colleges and said stop the killing on both sides, and they held hands instead of going after each other, maybe something will get accomplished. But the government doesn't want that, and the CIA doesn't want that. They're inflaming this on both ends, and then they're acting like they care. They're not a father and a mother that care. Only a father and a mother that cares what happens to their children. So,
yeah, I mean, look what they did in the 80s. You mentioned the CIA. With Freeway Ricky Ross.
yeah.
With crack cocaine and all that. You just have to come to the conclusion that our government doesn't give a shit. It's a goddamn shame. I think I talk about this all the time because a lot of the people watching right now are recovering addicts. Some of them are probably currently addicted to things. People look down on us. I'm 52 months clean and sober, but anytime anybody gets mad at me, the first word that comes out of their mouth is junkie. I never did dope. It was powder cocaine and alcohol, but still, I think that there's such a stigma behind addiction that addicts are looked at as throwaway people, like they don't even count. So nobody gives a fuck to even help us.
Well, I'm going to tell you something. So, because you just said that, so for the government that has billions of dollars to send to all these other countries, to all their borders, billions of dollars, billions to fund all these wars, why aren't they spending these billions on therapy, on housing, on medical advancements, on so many things to save people's lives here that are suffering from addictions and living on the street? We have 880,000 homeless people on the street, 125,000 orphanage kids. We have 44,000 homeless veterans. that, you know, have PTSD, addiction problems, alcohol problems, because they went out and tried to and protect the rest of us. So there's such a disregard for what's going on in our country, for the kids, for the people, for the veterans especially, that, you know, why is these billions of dollars going everywhere else? Instead, so when they tell you they don't have it, and then they let in another 7 million of immigrants, but yet they don't let them in Martha's Vineyard. They don't let them near any of these politicians' homes. They don't let them.
Nope.
So I don't know why people don't band together. This is not a political right or left thing. I actually like RFK too. He's a middle of the road Democrat. You see what they do to him. They don't even let him talk. They
No, of
won't
course
let him
not.
run for office. So this is not a free society. That's a true Democrat. Why don't you let him in? I know their excuse on the Trump side. So what's the excuse on our RFK side? So, you know, this is only about dollar bill. They want the control. The deep state wants the control of the dollar bill, and they want the control of our lives. And they want people weak. They want them addicted. You know, and that's the part that people really don't understand. They do want the addiction. They do want you weak. They want to be able to control you. That's why they just let 7 million people in, because they need to be dependent on this government to live. And if they're not good boys and girls, they won't feed them, and they'll leave them on the street. So, you know, we already know what's going on. And the problem is more people need to come out on like shows like this, on bigger shows, bigger platforms, and speak the truth and stop dividing everybody and let everybody buying into that division. The division is what is hurting us all, because they want us all to be at each other's throats. That's the way they control us. It's typical Machiavellian stuff.
Yeah, you know, it's the division is exactly it. You're right. I mean, that's what they want. They want us all to be divided, because God forbid we came together, we could make things happen. Every historical leader we've ever had who have tried, you know, has tried to unite us has been assassinated. You know, that's just the way it works. Like they don't want it. They can't have it.
They won't give RFK security, right? His uncle was killed. His father was killed. He's the biggest name around. He'll probably be killed. And he said it. He's right. Why won't you give him security? Listen, there's no different than me and you. We met in the wrong way, right?
Yeah.
And now we like each other. We respect each other. So,
Yeah.
you know, is it better to be friends with someone, to respect them? You don't have to agree with everything that you say back and forth, but as men, we're not kids. We're not 20 years old with egos. At 50 and 60, you should be saying to yourself, like, hey, there's nothing wrong with putting my hand out and disagreeing to agree. You know, so, you know, there's the difference, right? And it's hard to get that when you talk to a lot of, I don't know, the people are haters or ignorant. I don't know what word to use, because there's so many people that you never met in your life. They wish you bad.
Yeah.
You know, and who knows why they do that, you know, and at the end of the day, we all have families and kids. And, you know, I think that the better way is, you know, for me, if I see somebody who, and I use the word junkie too when I'm mad, and I shouldn't do it, but when all not perfect, and if somebody says that to me, I'd say, you know, you're right. I shouldn't say it. You know, there's nothing wrong with saying them. Somebody asked me plenty of times, well, didn't you threaten somebody before? And I'm like, yeah, actually I did. You're right. I shouldn't. I wish I did. You know, it comes out because your natural DNA of who you used to be, and every day's a battle. It's no different than alcohol, like they said. So, yeah, I try to better myself. I'm not perfect. So when people say, oh, you said something stupid, I said a lot of stupid things. It doesn't mean that, I'm saying I'm right. You know, when you're not angry anymore, you say, hey, I was wrong. I shouldn't have said that. I wish I didn't say that. But the difference is when I was young, I wouldn't have did that. You know, I would have just continued with the violence and continued the way it was. But as you learn, and you know, especially the pain of losing a child really opens your eyes to the real world, and you try to do the right thing now. You know, I can't for her anymore, but for every other kid I can. And for my other kids I can. And for people that know me, I try to do the right thing. And, you know, and this, for the most part, you see somebody who's hurting with drugs and alcohol, you want to help them. You want to reach a hand out. You know what their suffering is. You know, just this year, I lost Bobby Chesney, fighter. He's a 3-time champ. He's a real good friend of mine. His brother killed himself. A couple of years ago, my other friend killed himself. My friend Jason David Frank, the Green Ranger, he was a 7th and 8th degree black belt. He killed himself. He was supposed to come see me. And, you know, when you start losing people from addiction and drug issues and mental issues, and you realize this is only one life, And, and you look at some of the past things I did, can't take them back. But the only thing I do is help the people that need help now. All of us can.
Yeah, without a doubt. And I'm sorry for all your losses. My wife as well. She asked me to tell you. She sends her condolences on the loss of Chelsea and everything.
I really appreciate it.
Yeah, I remember. We were in Florida on vacation when we got the news that your daughter passed, and my heart just broke. Because there's nothing worse than losing a child.
People wrote me and said the opposite. Actually, I had not a lot, but probably 10 people wrote me and said, I'm glad she died. And I just, because they want to get at me. And I'm like, what kind of fucking human being is that person, right? So actually, usually I get, I would lose my temper if they said something else. With this, I really didn't get mad. I think at one person only, and everybody else I didn't. I just shook the head. I said, boy, this person's got to really hate their life. There's nobody that would say something as crazy as that unless they really, really hate their life. And you're not getting at me because wherever my daughter is, I really believe she's looking down and telling me, Dad, don't get mad. Because she used to get mad and fight with people online and, they were saying stuff against me and this. And I used to tell my daughter, don't do that. My sons don't do that, but my daughter used to do it because she's your daughter. They're a little more protective with their father, I guess, the same way I was with my daughter. I used to spoil her in my own ways, even though she'd always say, oh, you spoil the boys. But that's what, people say. But meanwhile, I obviously I spoil my daughter. It's my daughter. And, I just look at people and say, how can they be this mean? Do they have kids? Do they not love their kids? Does the kids hate them? I mean, what would make somebody say something so shitty?
I know, maybe it's my karma for fucking with you in the beginning, but I got so many fucking people hating on me on a daily basis, John. I swear to God, the shit they say is unbelievable. It's the hatred that comes from these people. Like you said, people that don't even know you. For whatever reason, they may not like you. Maybe they don't like the way you talk. Maybe they don't like the stories you tell, whatever. But to be able to say that, it's not about, it shows who they really are. It's nothing. It has nothing to do with you. It's
Well, a guy wrote me
the
other
fucking
day.
miserable person you have to be to say shit like that.
A guy wrote me the other day, and I got mad. I wrote him back, and he wrote me back, and I wrote him back, and he wrote me back, and then I said, "What the fuck am I doing?" And I said to him, "I go, listen, buddy. If you're really happy with your girl, with your life, with your husband, whoever you with your kids, with your job, what would make you get up and write me? Why the fuck am I even a thought in your mind? I shouldn't even be a thought in your mind. I don't get up ever and write anybody. They can believe anything they want. I suck, even when you invite me on here. I don't even know how to do these things on the computer and stuff. I got people that work my pages. I never, ever get up and write to anybody. The only thing I write is politics. And I try to be positive when I'm writing. And I try to talk about, positive things for countries and people and the people that lost their lives. And anybody that's ignorant enough, like what I just said with the conflict just now, and I don't care what Israel government did in the past. It doesn't matter if you believe in it or you're wrong. It does not justify wiping out 1,400 kids, raping them, chopping their heads off, killing them, butchering them, torturing them, killing old ladies. It does not justify it. Now, if you want to talk about the conflict, talk about the conflict and have a serious discussion that's been going on for years. But to just say that you don't give a shit, because you get I'd love to get some of these college kids in a room and say, do you understand what you just said about, and show them real death. Show them what happens when someone's getting bludgeoned. Show them when someone's dying. Make them sit there and watch, like as vivid as you can, something that somebody who's getting killed. Do you even understand what you're doing and saying? I mean, these kids in this country, they're not at that conflict. They're not killing anybody. Well, they're not involved with each other, killing each other. Why are you hating so much? But the problem is the same thing when someone has an addiction problem. People hate them like they purposely want to have an addiction problem. Yep. They don't want to purposely have an addiction problem. And by the way, when I went on CNN with Anderson Cooper, because he knows me, and we talked for about 20 minutes after the show, and they were talking about these drug-free zones. I said, I'm totally against them. And he asked me, what? Isn't it safe? I go, safe for what? It's like saying these kids that will ever go there, their lives are not worth anything. Let them get high forever. and ruin their lives forever. You're not trying to help them. You're just enhancing or helping them get high. So that's what their life is worth, to just let them continue to get high? But how about we start at younger ages when they're talking about all this crap in school now? Why aren't they talking about starting at 5 years old with confidence and know it? And I say this all the time. You could take a black kid, a Spanish kid, an Indian kid, an Arabic kid, any religion, put them all together. They don't hate it. They don't hate each other. They hug each other. They play in the schoolyard.
Yep.
They get to learn hate from adults. So when adults stop teaching them hate, then maybe people will put their hand and hold their hand across. You know, I have a lot of mixed friends from different nationalities and religions because I travel a lot around the world. And I grew up in Jamaica Avenue, East New York, so I knew everybody black and Spanish. So me and my kids never thought that way. My kids don't because I don't. But other people seem to be so interested in what somebody else does with their life. Like as an individual, it should be none of your business what that person does with his life. You should just, I don't know why they hate on other people, whatever they do with their lives, work-wise, sexual-wise, anything. You know, drug-wise, you should be saying, try to help them, not hurt them. Not try to, you know, knock them down so they want to do more drugs or drink more. But
it's like I said, man, I think, you know, I think people just don't give a fuck. You know, they look at somebody who's addicted to drugs and they blame them for their addiction, and it might be their fault, but because they blame them, you know, they don't care what happens to them. They look at it like, well, hey, you did it to yourself. You know, they don't understand the way addiction works. It's a shame, and they really don't give a fuck. I almost wonder if the reason they're not doing shit about this fentanyl is because it's a population control. You know.
Well, yeah, I believe that also. They're trying for population control. They want the wars. It generates money. It loses lives. Yeah, all these things is population control. But like I said, these drug-free zones, they could take the billions they send them to these countries, and they could have free rehab places for people. Right now, it's expensive as shit. So if you don't have a rich family, how are you getting that? How are you paying for that? If you don't have unbelievable insurance, how are you paying for that? So how about doing that instead of helping them get high more? And the problem with these places anyway is they're not open 24/7. So now every drug dealer in the world, if I was still dealing drugs, I'd be there also. And I'd say, well, they need drugs. Yeah, I'll give them drugs. And then if they're buying off of somebody again, if you're at a club or a bar, you know this. If you're at a bar or a club and you're getting high, you're not going to say, geez, let's leave here and go to this drug-free zone. It's safe for me. Who's going to think like that? So these are ridiculous, you know, bureaucratic, dumb reasons of developing these little cities. And on top of that, everybody that goes to these areas is just going to bring crime to those areas and more drug dealers to that area. And then when they can't get their drugs, they're going to take it on credit. And then here we go again. They're going to tell them, go rob for me, go get me my money, go break into this house, do this. I don't give a fuck, get me my money. And as a person that's addicted, they're going to do those things because they need to get high. So they need to go commit crimes to get what they're trying to get. And it's a vicious cycle. That's the problem.
Yeah, it is. It absolutely is. It's a shame. It never ends. Listen, I don't want to keep you on all night, but would you be willing to take a few questions from people?
Yeah, no problem.
All right. Also, I want to help. I want you to help me with something. Every time I do one of these shows, I try to encourage people. If you go to nextdistro.org, all right, you can fill out some information after watching a short video, and you can get 4 of these. You can get 4 of these Narcan sent to your house. If you have 4 people in the house, you can give 1 to each person. If you keep all 4 and you just want to keep them in different places, you know, you could do that. So, you know, in any way you could help me with that, try to encourage these people, John. I'd appreciate it. Explain to them how important it is to have this.
A lot of lives were saved. One of my friends' lives was saved last year also because of the Narcan. And he's not a young guy and depressed, was getting high. And he was at somebody's house getting high when he fell out, and they had Narcan at the house. And his friend didn't know they had the Narcan. The mother had it there. So it can save your life, and it saved his life. So for people out there, you really need to especially if you know you're in those streets, you're in around people that are still using, getting high, if you're using yourself. And you're still addicted and you're trying to get help, but you should still have it at your arm's reach. God forbid, it'll save your life.
Absolutely, yeah, without a doubt. It's within everybody's power to save a life. Now, do me a favor and tell them if they don't go get Narcan, you're going to show up to their house and beat them with a fucking baseball bat.
Yeah, I'll come there. One of my baseball bats I sell for Christmas.
There you go. A signed John Alite baseball bat. That's right. Let me see if there's any questions. Otherwise, I'll just try to read some comments. Let me see what we got here. If you guys have any questions, put them in the chat, and John will be happy to answer them. Let me read you what, if I could find it, my beautiful wife Shanna wrote a comment in here. Oh, there you go. New Beginnings with Shanna says, people write addicts or recovering addicts off. They fail to remember that they are people too. The person they were before the first drink or drug is still there. We can't ever forget that. Yeah. They forget, like your daughter, for example, they forget that at one time she was just a little girl. She had no intention of ever, winding up, with her story ending the way it did, they don't get it. They don't get that everybody is just a person. They're trying their best, even if they're addicted to something.
Well, this ain't like, a small percentage of people in this country or around the world that are addicted or have issues with drinking and drugs or recreational. It's a big percentage of the country that, and just to get high just one time recreationally could be it now. It's not like before when we were younger, this didn't happen. But now everybody that does a recreational drug is possibly be the last breath you take after you take it.
Yeah. Yeah, it's as simple as that. That's why, I said the other day on the show, I used to be heavily addicted to powder cocaine. I was doing like an 8-ball a day easily for years and years. I said that, the fentanyl in this case might actually save my life, because even if I were to relapse on alcohol, I would never even chance doing cocaine again, because you don't know if it has fucking fentanyl in it.
Yeah.
You think you're going to just have a couple of lines to have a good time, and then you end up dead, on the floor somewhere. It's a goddamn shame. It's sad. Somebody asked how your sons are doing.
My sons are good. My sons go to work. They're all, good kids. My other son's getting out in a couple months, and hopefully he never goes back. And these are the worst nightmares. Going to jail yourself or any of this stuff happening is one thing, but when it happens to your kids, anybody that's, got any kind of heart, they want anything to happen to them first before it happens to their kids. And it's just, after that, it's devastating. Every time I see a little girl walking with their father, I think of my daughter. When I see a teenage daughter with their father, with their friends, I think of my daughter. I go to a sporting event, I think about when my daughter's playing softball or soccer, or, it's just, there's never going to go away. You wake up at night to go to the bathroom, you think of your daughter. So I know every one of the parents that have been through this, they know the feeling. It's to the day you die. It's a torment. So hopefully you be with them again. And that's unfortunately how I think any parent lives after this.
Yeah, a lot of people put in the chat, and I agree with them. You could hear the devastation in your voice. You really can. I mean, I don't know if you realize that, but even like I said, your demeanor has changed. You seem like a different person since this happened.
Yeah, well, listen, it takes a toll on every parent, not just me. And, I try to be as real as possible. I tell people I love when people write me that. And when I'm doing other shows, he was crying. Yeah, I cry. I'm a human being. And I'm not one of those guys that don't say I didn't, and I don't cry every day about my daughter to myself in my sleep. And outside of that, in life in general, there's nothing wrong with showing emotion. I don't know who made that up, that you shouldn't show emotion as a guy. So I really don't care who says that. But, again, I really don't give a fuck what other people think about me. I just be me, and I tell the truth, try to just be as straightforward as possible about my life, and especially about this, because hopefully it saves other parents the heartache if they understand more, and the people that are addicted out there that talk to me, and I hope some of them are on listening to your show, that that we can help them a little bit, get in their head a little bit, and tell them you're not alone. There's so many other people, millions just like you.
Yeah, it's true. That's what, I like about these shows right here. A lot of the people in this chat, they all know each other. Everybody's friends now at this point. And a lot of people say it replaced like AA meetings for them. People can come here and just in the chat, they could explain their situation, and there's going to be 10 or 12 other people who went through the same thing, and they find comfort here, and that's what means so much to me. That's why I wanted you on this show.
Yeah, and that's why I wanted to do it, because I know what it is. I know what the pain is.
Yeah, definitely. One last question. Tony Ducks made a comment that if you legalize drugs, more people will die. Where do you stand on the legalization of drugs?
Again, there's billions of dollars that we throw away, this country steals. Our government steals like crazy, sends it overseas to every other country, and they don't take care of our own kids. I think it's got to start in education of confidence in the school system since they're 5 and 6 and 7. The more confidence you have, you won't go into drugs. A lot of this is about confidence. A lot of it's about getting depressed because of your life, growing up in hard families. But the more that you are educated, and the more that you're going through these systems of put in place since they're children, we won't have the addiction problems we have, because it's meant, a lot of it is mental illness, that we can't deal with things, and we drink, and we medicate ourselves, and we take things. So it's a lot to do with mental, not only, physical being addicted, but what got us to the addiction or got people to want to use drugs is something that's going on mentally. That's why I said it. The money should be used for these schools at young kids' ages, and then it should be used for rehabilitation immediately if there's a problem. So, and also it should be used where you don't ostracize people that think that they should be ashamed of having an issue. You should be able to talk about it. Everybody has issues. Nobody's perfect. We all stay at home. We all got issues. We all get upset. We all cry. We all get depressed. You shouldn't be ashamed of it, and that's the biggest thing. Come out and don't be ashamed, and say to yourself, fuck what everybody thinks about me. I'm going to be truthful. And the more truthful the next person is, the next life they save.
Yeah, I agree. Definitely. Casey Robinson, aka the Shaky Shooter, said, Mr. Alite, I don't know you. As a father who loves his daughter, I can't imagine the pain you have. For you to speak about it is hard. Thank you for sharing.
So thank you very much, too. I appreciate that.
Yeah, listen, John, this meant a lot to me, man. I don't want to keep you on. I don't want to keep you on all night. I appreciate you doing this, and
Thank you.
you have all of our condolences. We all feel for you, and we will always honor the memory of Chelsea, without a doubt.
Thank you. Appreciate everybody. Have a good holiday. God bless everybody, and I hope it gets the strength to get through whatever issues it's got.
Thank you, John, and I wish you the best in the future. I'll talk to you soon, buddy.
Thanks. Have a good night, everybody. Bye.
All right, bye. All right, there we go. There we go. Listen, guys, this show meant a lot to me. It really, really did. Regardless of what you think of John, I've spoken to him on several occasions now. Like I said, we've had our differences and stuff, but I see John as a good man now. He's really doing his best to try to affect change, and you could tell that his heart is absolutely broken after losing Chelsea. It's such a shame. It really is. I'll tell you the truth. I don't even know how he goes on, but it goes to show that he is a very strong person, and he's a tough guy. So I thank John again for doing this. I want to tell you guys all, I appreciate you very much. I apologize if I didn't get to all your comments and questions. It's harder than you think. You know what I'm saying? I try to do this without fucking everything up. So I hope you guys all enjoyed it. Thank you for participating and being here and watching, and sending kind words and all that stuff to John. It means a lot to me, and I'm sure it meant a lot to him. And that's it, guys. I'm out of here. I'm going to go spend some time with my wife, and I'll be back on tonight, and we could talk about whatever. All right? Listen, write these numbers down. National Addiction Hotline, Suicide and Crisis Lifeline. Go to nextdistro.org. Okay? Fill out a little information, watch a little video, and get yourself these. It's really, really important, guys. You might not realize it, but this little thing could literally save somebody's life. Okay? So you have the opportunity to be able to do that. And that's it, guys. Stay strong on your road to recovery, and I'll see you tonight. I love you all, and until then, salute.